What's going on, guys? We got the JJK chapter 261 spoiler leaks, and you will not believe what happened. We're finally getting an answer as to if Gojo's back or not. But real quick, guys, if you like JJK, or if you just like anime in general, if you like movies, video games, stuff like that, please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers before the end of summer, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Thanks, guys. So the chapter begins with Yuji deciding that he's going to crush Sukuna's heart. He's digging his hand into his chest just like he was at the end of last chapter, and he's looking real determined to basically end Sukuna. He's deciding right here, right now, he's going to try to crush his heart. As soon as Sukuna chants domain expansion, he sees Gojo standing, and in disbelief, Sukuna wonders if it's really him, but pushes away that thought as he says it's impossible. So we're getting an answer. It was very ambiguous who said domain expansion last week, and so I guess we're getting an answer here. It says Sukuna was the one saying it, but he's in shock at seeing Gojo, and he's also in disbelief, thinking that basically it's impossible for Gojo to be back. But Sukuna suddenly realizes who it is and punches away Yuji as he moves forward and says, "I apologize for underestimating you. I didn't know you were capable of going that far, Yuta Akotsu." So Sukuna is addressing Gojo as Yuta, and we see the scars on Gojo's forehead, and it's looking like Yuta is in Gojo's body. Then we get a flashback. Yuta decides to have Rika devour Kenjaku and copy his curse technique, which will allow Yuta to change bodies. Maki objects to this plan, but Hakari says he has one condition. They are gonna use this plan when everyone's wiped out and they don't have any options. Kusakabe says, "Can't we just copy Limitless from Gojo's body?" Shoko says, "You can't use Limitless without the 6 eyes." Getting a confirmation on that, I saw a lot of speculation last week as to whether Yuta could copy Limitless with or without the 6 eyes. There's a lot of debating going on, so it looks like we finally have, a definitive answer, at least from Shoko, saying you can't use Limitless without the 6 eyes. Shoko says the 6 eyes are a part of his physical body. It's not a curse technique, so he can't copy it. Maki asks, since Yuta can use copy curse technique for only 5 minutes, what would happen later? Yuta says he doesn't know. Mei explains the pros and cons of Yuta copying Kenjaku's curse technique. There's a possibility that after switching bodies, Yuta might lose his curse technique and would have to live in Gojo's body. So just to speculate here, we never found out if switching bodies was Kenjaku's original curse technique, and we do know that he had a couple of other techniques in his arsenal. Yuji's mom's curse technique when he was fighting Yuki, and then he also used the curse manipulation curse technique that he got from Kaito. So he could have more than one curse technique. It was never really revealed if he could have more than one at one time, or if that was his original curse technique, the switching bodies. Also, if you've watched a couple of other YouTubers, or if you've seen the last few videos, I've speculated on something that Gege said at a panel, or maybe it was in a fan book at some point, that Sukuna was going to eat an important character at some point in the story. And it was a very ambiguous thing that he said. And so people have been speculating for a while now. And I'm not gonna say anything, but right now, before I get to the rest of the leaks, before I read the rest, and before I get to the end, I'm kind of having an idea of where this might go. And I know there's going to be a break next week, so I know this chapter is going to end on a cliffhanger. So yeah, let's continue with the leaks. Yuta says that he knows this is a last resort. So first, he will try to fight Sukuna with his own domain. If he can't win, he'll accept Gojo's body. So yeah, we definitely know how that fight went when he was fighting against Sukuna with Yuji inside his domain. It definitely didn't go the way that they thought it was going to. I mean, I will give it to Yuta. He's one of my favorite characters, and I think he did really great. Sukuna just is Gege's favorite character. He has Uno Reverse on Uno Reverse. So, I mean, it's not really Yuta's fault that Sukuna's just built different. Kusakabe says, it's a good plan, but it's just not humane. Yuta says, what do you mean humane? We're about to fight the history's strongest Jujutsu sorcerer. If we can win just by throwing away our humanity, we shouldn't even be arguing about this. I mean, he kind of has a point. Yuta has a point. They should be definitely throwing away all their humanity. I mean, maybe not all their humanity, but like, it doesn't need to be a fair fight. It doesn't need to be necessarily humane. It is kind of wild to me right now that Yuta is in Gojo's body. I certainly didn't predict this. I don't think anybody predicted this. I saw the art that people did, like, oh, what if Kenjaku took over Gojo's body, and that was kind of a thing. And But nobody predicted this, that Yuta would copy Kenjaku's curse technique and then put himself into Gojo's body. That is something out of left field that I don't think anybody predicted, and it's pretty crazy. And again, I think Yuta's right. They need to do whatever they can, because if he beat Gojo in the first place, if they're even at this point where they have to use this in the first place, then I mean, that's all the more reason to be using it, right? They need to use whatever they can to get rid of this guy permanently, because he's, like they said, the king of curses, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in history, and he beat today's strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in history, Gojo. So they need to do whatever they can to finish Sukuna. Yuta asks if everyone's afraid of becoming some monster to fight Sukuna. Maki rebukes Yuta, saying that everyone's just concerned about him. And I think that kind of circles back to something that I think it was Urarame that said it. I don't remember 100%. Maybe somebody else out there does. Somebody was talking to somebody else about how they basically needed to lose their humanity to become good Jujutsu sorcerers, for it to be like it was in the golden age of Jujutsu, because that's how everyone fought back then. I don't remember who said it, but I swear somebody said something similar like that in the manga, that today's sorcerers don't fight like that, and that's why they'll lose. I'm pretty sure it was Urarame. I'm like 99% sure. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it was her. Yuta yells, "What about Gojo Sensei? Is he not important? Haven't we been pushing all the burden of becoming a monster onto Gojo Sensei alone? If Gojo Sensei is gone, then who else will be the monster? If no one intends to become one, then I will." I mean, I'm really agreeing with Yuta here. They need to do whatever they can to get rid of Sukuna. He needs to be gone. We see the reactions of Panda, Inumaki, Maki, Hakari, and looks like Choso and Kirara. The scene switches. Yuta tells Gojo that he will take his body if he dies. Gojo says he's fine with that. He says he has no intention of losing and doesn't care what happens to his dead body. So I kind of feel like Gege is trolling here a little bit, because he knows how bad people want Gojo back. And so that's what the dialogue here is just to like kind of rub it into people. Yuta and Gojo talk about if Yuta is a descendant of Fujiwara or Sugawara. Please forgive me if I butchered that. Yuta says, "Oh, by the way, I was told that I was a descendant of the Fujiwara blood." Yuta says, "Didn't Gojo Sensei say that I was a descendant of the Sugawara blood?" Gojo says, "It's the Sugawara, you and me are distant relatives, but weren't the Sugawara and Fujiwara on bad terms?" Yuta says, "So I guess Uro-san had a misunderstanding then." Gojo says, "Well, it's possible that both of us are right." It's kind of curious that that's being brought up again here, and I wonder how that relates to our current situation of him taking over Gojo's body, him fighting against Sukuna. If there's more to this bloodline from both of them and Sukuna that we're not aware of yet, that might come into play. Gojo says Yuta might have been born under better circumstances than him, so Gojo says if Yuta can't utilize that advantage, he's totally lame. Gojo says, "Let's start off with your sloppy curse energy. I've always told you to be careful about that." Maybe this is gonna trigger some sort of like power up with Yuta. Now he's gonna be a little bit more mindful of how he's using his curse energy going into this fight. I'm also wondering if now that he's in Gojo's body, does he still have access to all of his curse techniques that he copied? Also, if he still has Rika with him. Gojo then asks his students to go away because he doesn't want them to see a bloody sight, especially since he doesn't know what he's about to do is right. Gojo says, "If I lose to Sukuna and all the old geezers in the room are gone, Gakuganji Gramps will stand on top of the Jujutsu headquarters. If that happens, there won't be any more chaos like post-Shibuya incident." Gojo once again tells his students to go back, but they refuse him. Yuta tells Gojo to not try becoming a monster by himself again. Gojo says, "That's something I can't do. At that moment, I was left behind. I have to catch up to him." The scene switches again, this time to Amai, Yuji's friend, explaining his curse technique. He can amplify the sugar within himself and output it in some kind of way. Shoko puts Amai in medical team with Nita as support by having him supply their brain some sugar using his curse technique. So I don't know if that's just a translation or if it's just being ambiguous to leave to be desired that he can amplify the sugar within himself and output it in some kind of way. Does that mean he can turn the sugar in himself and output it into anything, or what? It's not really being explained here. And then we're getting to see Nita again, so that's good. Still no confirmation on if Nobara's still alive or not. I wish we would get some closure or something there. The scene switches again. Yuta is cut in half due to Sukuna's slash and has been rushed to the medical ward. Arata has used curse technique to avoid Yuta's wounds from getting worse, so it might be too late. That is referring back to when they were fighting inside his domain. I believe it was the end of the chapter where we see Sukuna using his slash on, I think it was both Yuji and Yuta. Yuta says he's conscious thanks to Rika, but he's starting to reach his limit. Shoko tells Yuta that she has already stitched up Gojo's corpse, so once Yuta switches, she has to activate reverse curse technique at max capacity and complete the body. Back to the present, Sukuna and Yuta in Gojo's body both open their domain. The narrator says that Gojo had already shown the solution to Sukuna's open barrier domain. So I feel like a lot of the times the narrator will end this cliffhanger making it seem like there's gonna be some sort of one up, but it has a history of not exactly showing that in the next chapter. The only time I can think of that actually happening, like the good thing happening, like when he said Yuji was going to have his awakening, you know, like Yuji did have his awakening. I think that's one of the very few times in JJK where the narrator has said something good was going to happen and then it actually follows through within the next chapter, because Yuji did go on to hit Sukuna with 8 black flashes. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know how you would want to put that, because Sukuna literally is still kicking and just fine and opening his domain again for a second time. So all the damage he sustained is not really I mean, it's affecting him. I'm not going to say it's not affecting him because he's at Yuta's curse energy level right now. That's what they said in the last chapter. So it is affecting him to a point. But, you know, Sukuna always is like one step ahead. So even though Gojo knows the solution to Sukuna's open barrier domain, that doesn't mean that Sukuna is going to not be able to one-up whatever Yuta does in the next chapter to try to one-up him, and Sukuna just stays ahead, and that's just kind of how that goes. The chapter ends with Sukuna using Malevolent Shrine and Yuta using Gojo's Unlimited Void. So I think we all know how this is gonna go. Sukuna usually stays one step ahead, so I'm not gonna even begin to believe that this is gonna have a positive outcome for anybody. This is going to be another bloodbath. So yeah, that was this week's chapter leaks. What do you guys think about it? I am eagerly awaiting the official translations. It might make a difference, it might not. I mean, there's definitely some things in here to go back and try to decipher a little bit with more of an official translation, especially the Gakugandi thing. What did Gojo mean by he would be standing on top of Jujutsu headquarters? If Gojo is gone and Sukuna's still alive, they have to deal with that, and I don't know why Gojo's thinking, well, if I'm gone, they'll take care of it and Gakuganji will still be there and everything will be all right because he'll be in charge of the headquarters and we won't have anything like Shibuya again. Or maybe that's not what he's saying. I don't know, maybe I just misunderstood. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good thing that Yuta is taking over Gojo's body? Do you think this is going to end well for Yuta? Do you think it's going to end bad for Gojo? Do you think the Unlimited Void is even going to do anything to Sukuna at this point? I mean, he's been hit by several things, so, you know, we may never get Megumi back, and we may never get confirmation that Nobara is alive or dead. I also just wanted to add that this basically confirms that Gojo's dead, right? There's no coming back now. So everybody can put those theories to bed and rest and finally acknowledge that Gojo is dead and gone, and now Yuta is possessing his body because he's gone. So RIP Gojo. But hey, thanks guys for watching this video. Please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.